All right, class. So here we are, and not class, but I wanted to get into. So here are the charges that were brought up. So I asked a public servant. His name's Brad Porter. Brad Porter, the Vail Police Department, threatened our accounts manager when we served a notice through a service provider, professional one, that went and provided taped to the doors of these units in which they had worked and provided hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of construction services and materials on behalf of Jace Management, a company that's owned by my client, Jason Thompson. Jason Thompson couldn't get paid. It was ongoing. The court case was, it was literally dismissed without prejudice, without any consultation back to him or to myself, representing him and his company as a co-claimant, since I had worked on the property with him. And Todd Mulligan, whom was the service provider, taped to their doors a notice to stop and correct, to make payment, or to mediate, arbitrate, or negotiate a settlement. Otherwise, it stated on there that they would have to file a lawsuit on each and every townhome, 50 townhomes. And that would be very costly because each lawsuit cost $25,000 to $50,000. So therefore, instead of paying just the construction fees, it's for the services and materials provided, which were all outlined, documented, confirmed with 3 outside bidding agencies, all of which were more expensive than his performance. And yet, with that said, they ignored him. But what we found out is that the lady that we were contracting with, Karen Perez, had all the notices taken down for the most part, we believe. And then she came after me and made calls to the Vail Police Department to have me arrested because I was, servicing a notice to stop and correct. Now, with that said, I'm going to try to get through this quickly, but this is the charge. Brad Porter of the Vail Police Department calls up, this is how it starts, calls up and threatens the accounts manager, Christine Pearson. Where's Todd Profit? I'm going to have him arrested for either assault or trespassing. Christine then reflects, why? He's not even in Vail. He wasn't even there. He hasn't done anything, right? Then she's like, what's going on here? He hangs up on her, calls me like 20 times in a row. I'm like, I'm at work. Mr. Porter, please provide proof that you're not an imposter, threatening me. Because he called up and first thing he said was, I'm going to get you on assault. Then he said, I'm going to get you on, and I was like, how are you going to get me on assault? I haven't been anywhere. I haven't done anything. I've never harmed anybody other than kickboxing, which is a mutual sport. We both are in, contract to kickbox with one another. What are you talking about? And he said, well, I'm going to get you on trespassing then. I said, okay, where was I trespassing? What have I done wrong? And then he said, well, you were trespassing on these townhomes. I said, I wasn't even there. I'm not even in the county. How could I be trespassing? So he got frustrated. There's a recording of that. When I crossed him on the stand, he literally lied about having an oath, lied about having a bond, and then lied about providing identification. I asked for all 3. I said, it's the triad. If you're a civil servant, which up here it mentions many, many, many times that a civil servant is what Brad Porter is. This is their charge, by the way, on me. It's a felony 4 that they tried to put on me. And of course, it's coloring of law and everything else. There's 14 charges they broke, and they broke it 17 times, which makes for a total 238 crimes they committed against me on just this charge alone. For coloring, perjury, misappropriations, misallocations, fiction, fraud, coloring of the law, conspiracy to commit civil, RICO, it's all right here. Deprivation of rights under coloring of the law, etc., and so on. So with that said, I'm going to go through these, but this is the 24 charges they brought against me, right? 24 charges for serving a notice to please stop and correct, arbitrate, mediate, or contact us to go over your bill. That was it. Otherwise, we have to sue. That's not a threat And to ask from a public servant for their oath, identification, and bond, or their insurance, what do they do every time they come up to your car door when they pull you over for a traffic stop? Registration, identification, and insurance, right? It's expected of every professional person out there, especially a civil servant, like a cop who is out abusing people or has the ability to do so. Definitely need to have all three of those things. And if they're calling up harassing you on the phone, what's the first thing you need to know? You need to make sure that they're not an imposter, right? That's what it says in all the statutes, all the laws. By the way, this is not a law, this is a statute. It's part of their corporation. It's not a part of my law, it's not a part of your law. It's a part of their corporate policy that they're trying to put, what we're trying to put on me. So here's an example. So Brad Porter calls, threatens Christine first. Then he calls and threatens me with an assault charge, then a trespass charge, and then you need to come to me or else. And I said, you need to prove to me that you are who you say you are. And then instead of doing that, what he did is he lied about it. And then they put this charge on me. Now, whenever you have coloring of the law, it is a crime. Coloring of the law, you have to stop and correct. That's Title 42, 1986. Stop and correct. FRCP 26.5 is closure, which means you have to bring closure to your claim. So if I'm stating that you did something to me, that you victimized me or I victimized you, you need to make a clear claim and it has to bring in closure. In other words, you did this to me on this date at this time. You punched me in the face, you broke my eye socket in my jaw when you punched me, and that was at 2 p.m. Mountain Standard Time on December 16, 2024 at 980 Vailview Drive, Brooktree Townhomes on the second level on Building B in front of Unit 213 or whatever it is, right? It has to have closure, has to bring closure. And that Todd Profit punched John Smith or John Doe or Jane Smith or Jane Doe or whatever, right? Has to have specifics. Has to bring closure. Next one is fraud by confession. Brad right here, it is by confession. First he tried to charge me with assault. Then he tried to charge me with trespassing, which you can't be trespassing if you're not even there. And then finally, he brought me up on this charge, which was asking for an oath, a bond, the triad, which is just like I said, registration, insurance, and identification, right? If you're going to ask every driver out on the road for that crap, why wouldn't us, ask in return from a civil servant? We do, we will, and we should, always, right? So with that said, this is a perjury by confession. That's exactly what that is, because this is a charge. Fictitional fraud by confession, right there. Fictitional conveyance of language. This is fiction because it doesn't bring any closure. Communication, false and misleading. False and misleading, are you kidding me? I mean, my God, he says, unlawfully, feloniously attempted to influence. How do they know what's in my head? How am I felonious? They're naming me a felonious party, and I haven't even started yet, right? I haven't even talked to them. It's 15 USCF, 78 FFs, 25 million. Conspiracy, 1985. Obstruction, deprivation of rights. RICO, racketeering influence corruption organization. Coloring of the law, criminal participation, personal damage, and corruption from the beginning, friends. That's what this is. Now, I'm going to run you through on how this works. This is an adverb is 1, a verb is 2, adjective is 3, and a pronoun is 4, article is 5, preposition is 5, article 6, and a noun is 7. 8 is the future, is the past, 9 is the future, and 0 is the conjunction. Between and including. We go through all this. There's 17 times in these 82 words here that they color the narrative. What's coloring, you say? Coloring is an adjective or an adverb. It doesn't bring closure, it's coloring, it's opinion. It's pushing your opinion on someone else. That's coloring, okay? Now, 17 times they have it in this charge. It's different than this charge, but yet they're trying to use that charge to violate my freedoms, my rights. Now, in doing that, they, of course, are, conspiracy, corruption, RICO, racketeering, corruption, criminal participation, obstruction of justice, everything else, right? These 14 charges, every time they color the law, every time someone tries to force their opinion on you, every time someone tries to color you into a corner for something you didn't do, didn't commit, didn't have any participation in other than their opinion or their oppression of you, which is known as rape, right? Rape is when you force yourself on another, or you force something on another. You force an opinion, you force a credibility issue, you force slander, you force them somewhere, somehow, or something that they don't want to do without force. That's rape. Now, coloring of the law is rape. When you go through this and you have coloring of the law 17 times, the only conclusion you can come up with is that it is rape. Because look at this, let's go through it, right? Between and including. Between and including? What are you talking about? They're trying to say between December 16th and March 28th. That's 4 months. They're just blanketing things. Hey, back in 2025 somewhere, Todd, sped. He tripped over a rock and he hurt somebody. We don't know who, we don't know how, we don't care, we just want to put him away, right? That's the mentality here. So let's go through it. Between and including December 16th, Ernest Todd Profit, unlawfully. How do they know it's unlawful? How did they know it's unlawful? They're just stating unlawful. They're forcing their opinion, that's coloring. And feloniously, they're saying I'm a felon and I'm out there doing some felonious shit, right? That I'm committing some type of a crime. I have an intent to go out and commit crime because I've committed crimes before. I'm a felon. I'm out feloniously doing things. Attempted. Now, did I do it? Did I didn't do it? I attempted to do it. I thought about it. Now they're just covering all bases, right? To try to put me away. To influence. Okay, now I'm influencing an officer of the law, right? But he refuses to prove he's an officer of the law. So what's that? By asking for identification, how is that attempting to influence? It's not. It's stating a fact. You have to provide your oath, your bond. It's called the triad. And by everything from Colorado statute to federal law, it is a absolute necessity for all civil servants to have an oath, a bond, and provide identification. They can't be a treasonous imposter from another country. They have to be from here. They have to prove where they're from or to be nationalized. They have to prove their oath or their mission to the Constitution and we the people, not screwing we the people, but working for we the people because they're a public servant. What does a public servant do? They work for the people. Who am I? I'm the people, right? So, Vail Police Sergeant Brad Porter, a public servant by a threat or economic reprisal against a person or property. How many opinions are in there? By a threat or economic reprisal. I mean, this is all conjecture. With the intent, again, more opinions, more influence, more coloring, thereby to alter or affect the public servant's decision, vote, opinion, or action. What am I trying to influence? What? What am I doing? How? Why? Where? How am I doing this? By asking for a triad? There's no way. You can't do that. Right? Or action concerning a matter which was to be considered or performed by the public servant or the agency or body of which the public servant was a member in violation. My God. When you break that down, it's like, what are you talking about? There is no fact in there, not one. And if you're trying to condemn me to breaking the law, you need to prove, which means a fact, a truth. A truth is a fact is a truth is a fact. If you're conjecture, you're improvising, you're judging, you're opinionated, and you're forcing or coloring, that's breaking the law, man. And you just did it to me 17 times in that statement. 17. And mind you, they put this section of the code as the law that was broken. Now, let's go through the law that it actually is that they say that reflects, and it doesn't. Even more conjecture, because they're stating that this code right here is the code below, which they don't match up. So here's the code that they're stating exists. Any person who attempts to influence any public servant by means of deceit or by threat of violence or economic reprisal against any person or property with the intent thereby to alter or affect the public servant's decision, vote, opinion, action concerning a matter which is to be considered or performed by him or the agency or a body of which he is a member. Now, does that match up to this? Not at all. Did I threaten Brad with violence? No. Did I threaten him with economic reprisal? No. Did I threaten him with bodily harm or intent to injury or try to deceive him? No. Asking for the triad, oath, bond, and identification is what it is. It's a request for identification to prove you're not an imposter. To prove that you're not some jackass out in the world trying to screw over citizens. Whoops! Cat's out of the bag there, huh? Jeez. So, fraud. This is all the stuff that they pumped in here, and this is all the stuff that was supposed to be in there that wasn't. The green. By means of deceit, threat of violence, or economic reprisal. Yet, up here, they just replaced that with unlawfully, feloniously, just a bunch of coloring, right? They just colored the shit out of the law trying to get away with it, right? Trying to make it sound just horrible. Like I'm out there, I'm just stalking people. I'm felonious, I'm just criminal intent, I'm just gnarly. I'm just out there just stalking this guy, Brad Porter, who called my accounts manager a couple counties away, right? And threatened her for me. I mean, I gotta arrest Mr. Prophet. He was over on the property. What property? He's not even over there. I'm telling you, he wasn't there. I know, because I know he's working right now. Because I'm the accounts manager, and it's 7 o'clock at night. What are you talking about? Oh, I'm gonna call him. What's his number? Well, his number's on the website. His number's on all the paperwork. How can you not be able to get a hold of him? My God, they provided notices. They have, he's a general contractor throughout the entire state of Colorado, has licenses everywhere. I mean, how can you not get a hold of this guy? Well, I need to see him because I'm gonna have him arrested. That's a threat, right? So, with this, I'm going to try to keep this under 20 minutes. With this charge and what I'm reflecting to you this is how they color the law. Now, we're going to go through it. Now, a 1 is an adverb, 2 is a verb. Now, neither one of a verb and an adverb aren't a fact. An adjective is coloring for what? A pronoun, which is for. And number 5 is an article. Number 6 is number 5 is a preposition. 6 is an article, and 7 is a noun. Now, what is a noun? N-O-U-N. It's a no-no. What's a pronoun? Number 4 is a pronoun, and pronoun is P-R-O, which means no, N-O, which is no, and U-N, which is no. It's a triple negative. A pronoun is a no word. Now, with that said, the pronoun is 4, 7 is the noun. Now, 8 is past time, and 9 is future time. If you're talking about the past or talking about the future, you're not in the now time. You're not contracting in with the living, right? You're in the past. You're saying something happened in the past. It doesn't reflect to today. Now, if I did something to someone, they can name the factual time, place, that happened, and then make claim on that. But they can't say, you know what, 20 years ago, you tripped me. I fell, and I don't remember where it was or how it was, but I'm sure you did it. You were a party to it, and you made it happen, and now I'm suing you for criminal damages, right? There has to be proof. You can't just subject someone to your interpretation because you don't like them. I don't even know this guy. He did all this shit right here. So it makes me think he's either really Luciferian or he's just a total wahoo, right? But the bottom line is this is some wahoo stuff, right? So let's go through it. Now, with that said, between is in here it acts as a 5, an article, and, which is a conjunction 0, including, which now becomes a verb. December 8th, 16, those are all past time, right? Ernest Todd Prophet, which actually when it's written like that, becomes adjective pronoun. Unlawfully, which now is an adverb, which is coloring. And feloniously, which is an adverb now, more coloring. Attempted, which is a verb. To influence, adverb, verb. Vail police sergeant, which that all becomes adjectives, which is more coloring. A public servant by a threat, which is more coloring. Of threat, more coloring. Or economic, coloring. Reprisal against a person or property with the intent, more coloring. Thereby to alter or affect, more coloring. The public servant's decisions, coloring. Action concerning a matter which was, and that's past time, to be, coloring, considered, coloring, performed by the public servant, or the agency or body of which the public servant was member in violation of section. And that's all in a box because it's all void. Coloring. 17 times coloring of the law, which is 14 charges for each and every time, totaling 238 crimes against me in that one statement. And to boot, they didn't even match it up with the code that I supposedly violated. So I hope you've enjoyed this little walk down memory lane here. And this is how they do it, right? This is a lot of the, the manipulation, the prejudice, the slander, the coloring, the RICO, the corruption that is used to oppress you so that they can put a charge on you. And that charge is, of course, for money. So this is all from greed, right? Hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you on the next one.